Hello everyone.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning. I'm Gita from Ethiopia.
Good morning. Hello. Just waiting for a couple of people to join still today's session, and then we'll start. Please feel free to drop in the chat your name, where you come from, and in which education institution you're working. And if that's your first time joining us, very welcome to the WFF Forum Youth Initiative Educators Network Teachers Lab. Great. So yeah, again, hello everyone, and very welcome to this WFF Forum Teachers Lab. It's wonderful to have you all here today. Some of you I've already had the pleasure of speaking with, and I look forward to getting to know all the rest of you. Thank you for joining us. For those who don't know me, I'm Davide Agretto, Youth Education Specialist in the FAO's Office of Youth and Women, and I co-lead the WFF Forum Global Youth Action Initiatives Educators Network. For those joining, again, the network's event for the first time, let me give you a brief overview of the network. The network moves around four different pillars. The first one is the Teachers Lab, the session where we are here today. It is a practical session to empower educators with the knowledge and a very learning opportunity for all the attendees to know more about topics related to agri-food system transformation. Our network is also composed by a discussion space, our second pillar. This is an online platform to engage weekly or daily with your fellow educators and member of the WFF Forum Educators Network to talk about ongoing initiatives and to have meaningful dialogues around the topics related to agri-food system transformation education. The third pillar is the network meeting. Network meetings are our regular gathering to connect and collaborate among each other to discuss about these pressing topics and of course exchange best practices with our fellow colleagues. And the last and fourth pillar of the Educators Network is, of course, the co-development of resources. This is aimed to creating valuable educational resources collectively through a joint effort. So why are we having this Teachers Lab today? And this session is the second installment of our joint model for educators in collaboration with the FAO's Office of Emergency and Resilience, OER. The WFF Forum Educators Network Teachers Lab today will focus on the role of education in strengthening resilience within agri-food systems, particularly in humanitarian and fragile settings. Building on the insight from the Food System Summit +4 and FAO's Resilience Portfolio, today's sessions brings together expert and practitioner to explore three different topics. We will see emergency preparedness with a focus on animal health, climate action in fragile settings, and a focus on healthy diets from resilient and inclusive food systems. Now, before we jump into the session, leaving the floor to our experts for today, let me briefly introduce you our special guest. The first one is Daniel Abreu. He's a veterinarian active as an incident coordinator specialist at the FAO, working with the Emergency Management Center, EMS. Welcome to the session, Daniel, and thanks a lot for your support today. Moving to our second expert, Sylvie Wabs. Sylvie is an agronomist from Belgium with more than 35 years of professional experience in development, humanitarian, climate, and environmental management at field, regional, and international levels. She's been working in FAO since 20 years on emergency and resilience for agriculture and food-based livelihood systems in fragile and food crisis situations. Thanks a lot, Sylvie, for being here with us today. Sylvie's presentation will be joined by another expert, Phil Priestley, who works within the Conflict and Peace Unit CPU of the Office of Emergency and Resilience OER in FAO as a conflict analyst supporting FAO's country offices on conflict analysis, conflict sensitivity, and contributions to localized peace. Prior to his work with the FAO, he worked with national and international NGOs and other UN agencies on humanitarian access, security coordination, and of course, research into subnational conflict dynamics. Thanks a lot, Philip, again for being here. Moving to our last expert of the day, we have with us Riccardo D'Angeli, a nutrition and food systems policy consultant at the FAO, supporting the Better Nutrition for the Most Vulnerable program. His work focuses on integrating nutrition-sensitive approaches in emergency and resilient contexts with a strong emphasis on youth and women's empowerment. Thanks, Riccardo, as well to you for being here. Now, if you feel comfortable, please turn on your camera, as I'm also very glad to hand over to Anna Urgoiti Aristegui, Senior Advisor for Capacity Development here at the FAO in the Office of Emergency and Resilience. Over to you, Anna.
Thank you very much, Davide. Thank you very much, OICIM, for trusting me for a second time to facilitate these kind of meetings you have with this fantastic network and laboratory of educators all around the world. It's really a challenge to prepare and to facilitate events that are relevant for everybody, given the diversity. So I hope what we have prepared for you today is going to be very exciting, but overall relevant and useful for your own realities as educators, wherever you are educator. We say classroom, but the classroom can be one formal classroom in a university, or it can be sitting down under a tree in a community. So what are we going to have today? We are going to have a webinar which is going to be longer than usual. It's going to be 90 minutes. And it's divided into sections. The first section is going to happen in plenary. We are going to start with Daniel, who is going to do a brief summary of what happened in the previous webinar, so the people who didn't attend at least can have an idea of what we were talking about, which were the main conclusions, so you can catch up, because this is going to be important for the webinar today. Then also in plenary, we are going to talk with Sylvie on the portfolio of solutions. We are going to change into some positive mood, looking ahead, looking forward, which are the solutions that we have in this multi-sector food system and multi-shock and stress approach that we are trying to share with you all. And she's going to explain this also with her recent experience in the summit in Ethiopia, that maybe some of you are already aware. And then we are going to give the voice to the experts. So the four colleagues that have been introduced already by Davide are going to give a small elevator pitch, a small key messages on the three different topics that I will remind you, which are the ones later on. And once we have all this in plenary, which is the basis, we are going to move to the second part of the webinar, which is the longest one and probably the most important for you, because it's when we are going to ask you to choose one breakout room. There is going to be 9, 3 of which in French. And in those webinars, in those rooms, you are going to have one facilitator each, but we will explain all the details later on. For you to know that now we are going to work in plenary, later on in groups, and at the end, we will go back to plenary only to close this webinar. So without anything else from my side, I hand over to Daniel, who is going to help us remembering what it was, that fantastic webinar that we had a few weeks ago. Over to you, Daniel.
Thanks a lot, Anna. I will ask the support of Davide to share the screen for me, please. And I will try to be brief, since, as you mentioned, we have a lot to cover in this next 1 hour and a half. But I think it's important to put all the educators here present in the same page regarding what we covered in the previous meeting. So without further delays, Davide, if you can please move ahead for the next slide, please. One of the first concepts that we focus in our last meeting, in our last discussion late in July, was a definition of what are the agri-food systems that we are talking to and that we are going to focus during the breakout rooms today, and how the educators can support this. So the agri-food systems, they encompass the entire actors and activities that go from the production of raw material until the distribution and the consumption of food, but also including the waste management. And if we consider that we have all those different actors and activities engaged in this process, we can already start to understand that these agri-food systems, they become very susceptible to different threats and shocks that we are going to discuss in the next slides. So we need to have different strategies, and we need to focus on different approaches to turn those agri-food systems more resilient to those potential emergencies. This slide shows a very quick interaction that we have with the learners and the educators that were present in the last meeting regarding their understanding of what agri-food systems are. And we can see here that there is a bit of a consensus in this word cloud, understanding the connection, of course, of the agri-food systems with food security and food safety, the food production overall, and the importance of agriculture in the system. But we also have flagged and highlighted the importance of other concepts as indigenous food, for example, the importance of quality, and then the acknowledgement of the supply chain and the value chain in the whole process. Next slide, please, Davide. With it, we move ahead for what we discussed very briefly about the shocks and stresses threatening and impacting agri-food systems, which can result in emergencies. And we discuss a little bit about the different categories. Sylvie very in a very detailed way described those different categories of events. And we understood a little bit better that those shocks and those stresses, they don't happen most of the times in an isolation way, but they can overlap and they can be related to each other. So also the emergency management strategies and the education tools that we develop, they cannot be isolated, but they should consider multiple shocks and stresses simultaneously. Can you move to the next slide, Davide, please? This was another very quick interaction we did with the educators that were present in the meeting, in which we introduced some shocks and stresses for the participants, and we asked them to rank and select which were the ones that they understood as with a higher risk for their own realities. Because as you know, here in the Educators Network, we have participants from all over the world. So of course, the perception of risks, they are different among the different participants of the network, and this can be highlighted here. But a point that is clearly highlighted overall is the threats and the stresses related to climate and weather related events. And we're going to talk about it in more depth in the following presentations. Next slide, please, Davide. And then the end of the presentations of the last network meeting that we had, we contextualize a little bit what we mean about humanitarian context and what is the role of FAO in those different contexts. And we define that FAO in those situations helps people to anticipate and prepare for crisis, to respond fast to those same crises, and FAO also seeks to reduce the risk and to address vulnerabilities. But more important than the role of FAO in this participation and in the last presentations, we try to highlight and flag a lot the role of the educators in the systems. And we had the opportunity to know in more depth the experiences of Doreen, who is one of the participants of the network, the Educators Network, and she shared her experiences in the Ustawi, Africa, and how this nonprofit organization is supporting especially rural women in developing capacity for watering, harvesting, and other important activities. And then in breakout rooms, we did a very engaging discussion with the educators that were present in this meeting, trying to define in their perspective what are the roles of the educators in those emergency settings, what are the potential solutions that those educators could bring, and the main challenges that they face and they could see as potential blockers for the educators to act and to have a higher impact in those settings. And we will go in more depth and in more practical scenarios in the breakout rooms of today. But that's a very brief introduction of what we did. Please, Anna, Sylvie, if you have anything to add, feel free. Thank you.
No, nothing to add, Daniel. I think you summarized it perfectly right. And yes, as Daniel was saying, after the inputs from Sylvie now on the portfolio of solutions and the technical knowledge on some of those topics that we are going to cover today, in your groups, we are going to ask you again how to take these topics to the classroom, okay, to your own reality. And also we are going to ask you about the challenges, because the idea is to prepare in the future sessions that can also help you to overcome some of those challenges. So thanks, Daniel. Let's now move to Sylvie and the portfolio of solutions. And I think that David is also going to help you with a small slide you have. Over to you, Sylvie.
Many thanks. Best greetings to everyone. I can see that we have experts, educator in the room that are from different locations across the world. It's really a honor and a pleasure to be with all of you. Today it's really nice, and we're trying to bring a bit of trying to decomplexify some of these difficulties, complexities that we are having when we're talking about agri-food system, when we're talking about resilience, when we're talking about crisis, disasters, climate change, conflicts. I think we've done that very well, and Daniel did a very good summary of these various elements, so that I think each of you can identify where you are positioning your work in the agri-food system. Is it in the food production? Is it in the food processing, in the food consumption, along the overall journey of food, from the production to the way it is consumed, the way it is stored, the way it's harvested? And so it has this different dimension. And as it was very nicely highlighted at the last webinar, and again summarized by Daniel, we know very well that the way the journey that food is taking from the farm to the table is heavily threatened and heavily impacted from the multiple disasters, disease or food chain threats, climate change, the events associated with climate change, conflicts, and that these are not taking place one after the other or separately, but very often all together, especially in what we call these humanitarian settings or protracted crises, which are situations where community have to deal with a drought at the same time as the conflicts, are socioeconomic disturbance, like the increase in the prices of agriculture input, the price of food, access to food, locust invasion, all together. So in this constellation, in this situation where you all know very well what context, what location, what livelihoods, what food system you're dealing with in your different geographies and territories, what we've come up to learn in FAO, together with many partners, is that to build the resilience of the agri-food system and the people who depends on this agri-food system for their food, for their income, for their livelihoods, for their job, especially youth, is that there are a number of solutions that are already implemented today and that needs to be connected. And this is really where you, as educators and trainer or capacity builders, you have a critical role in unpacking these, explaining these, leading these, so that the local capacity and leadership that your communities, your people and the youth have, wherever you are based, are really harnessed, are really accelerated because of this multiple crisis that we are facing, the poly crisis that we are facing today. So it's not only climate change, it's not only biodiversity, nature crisis, it's not only pollution, it's not only the series of conflicts in the socioeconomic, it's all this multiple cascading, colliding shocks and stresses that are affecting the people, and especially those people on the front line of these multiple crises. So here, these tools or solutions or actions or intervention that we are trying to bring to you and to further discuss in the different um, group, in different smaller group, you see three themes that are highlighted in yellow. And those three themes are really coming up from the last webinar held in July. But I'd like to, before we dive into each of these three yellow highlighted topic, I'd like to still talk a little bit about this multi-risk management dimension and these various tools that we have at hand. And the first one that you've heard a lot about probably, and it's very important, it's all linked to the data information monitoring on the various crises, risks, conflicts, climate, food security level. It's very important to understand, monitor what is happening, what type of events, what type of impact, what type of loss and damage, what dimension of food insecurity. This is a very big area of work that can be happening. Here I'm talking about all level, global, regional, national, subnational, local level. All these tools or these solutions are valid at local level, where the local organization of the communities and the authorities can take these actions. This data is important for the second type of tools, and this is not chronological. You can have the different ones taking place at different time, and some are developed more than others, depending where you are. These data are very essential for the early warning, systems. Early warnings are very important to make sure that the impact of the disasters, the climate, extreme events, or conflicts, or any other economic impacts are reduced. It's a way to, it's the evacuation route. It's the way to avoid some of the biggest impacts. So you don't wait and stand in the same place for the disaster to land on your head. So this early warning system are extremely important, needed to be connected to actionable alerts. And especially for the agri-food system, reaching out to all the food actors. The third element that we will dive into more details is this emergency preparedness, that is linked to anticipatory action and also to the emergency response. Again, very important to be prepared. It's not enough, but it's important to be prepared. It's best that we can even reduce much further all the risk and impacts, but the preparedness is a critical element. Another element is the number 4 is the governance. By governance, it's a bit of a loaded word. Let's talk more about the decision-making processes, how you are organized as a community, as a city, as a subnational territorial management authority. The way that the decisions are taken, the policies, the plans that are in place, this is extremely important so that this multi-risk can be addressed. A fifth element is the risk transfer mechanism. You probably heard about the social protection with cash transfer, insurance, making sure there's a provision of finance ahead of shocks and stresses, but also after or during. This is something that was largely implemented during the COVID crisis, where the whole country sometimes, like I remember Pakistan, developed huge schemes to make sure that people had some cash at hand to be able to cope through the crisis. The sixth element, which is very much agri-food system specific, is that whether at farm or at firm along the food value chain, resilient, conflict-sensitive good practices are applied so that the importance of risks are understood in shaping and designing the solution and the action on the ground. Here we're talking about mulching on the farm, for example, or a diverse type of route and access to some processing plant facility, different measures that are really important. That there's a myriad of good practices that I'm sure many of you are implementing. The 7 elements, which very often is forgetting, is on the infrastructure side. How do we make sure that our infrastructure, it's not only the house, is the storage room of the food, of the seeds, the livestock shelter, the food processing plants, that these are climate proofed, for example, that they resist a huge storm, or that they are not built in the flooding plain areas, or that they are having the cooling system so that they can withstand the heat wave. Very important consideration along the food value chain. The 8th element is the word that we hear a lot in the climate change, is nature-based solution. This is the whole ecosystem and renewable natural resource management. This is your water, your soil, the trees, the biodiversity, is the whole way that the ecosystem is managed so it can be sustainable, and it can really, it's the first line of defense in many of the shocks and stresses that we face today. And unfortunately, it's very degraded. Nature has been very exploited instead of being regenerated. And then I will end with the food loss and waste reduction, which is a very important element when we know that about 30% of the food goes to waste today. And that's a big loss in terms of energy and material, income, resources, and quite dramatic when we know the number of people that are still hungry today. And the last one that we will see more in depth is the importance of diets. Diets, diversified, healthy diet. This is both a result of a resilient agri-food system, but it's also an essential contribution for making resilient agri-food system. It's both on the input and the output as a result. With this, I will stop here. I think I took a little more than 10 minutes that we allowed. And we will dive in these 3 topics highlighted in yellow with the experts that we have in the room, and very happy to discuss these further and the way we can really empower and boost education on some of these topics all together in the various meeting rooms, in-depth discussion that we will have. Thank you. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you very much, Sylvie. Always very interesting to listen to you and all your experience. I'm sure the rooms that are going to deal with your topics are going to be very happy to receive your visit. So now, as we promised, we are going to deal with 3 different topics, okay, that I am going to put already in the chat, the name of the topics. See, Sylvie, how many hearts you are receiving from everybody. So in the chat, you can find now the 3 topics, and we are going to invite the experts to give you a brief introduction to the topics. We ask, what have we asked the experts to share with you? The minimal key messages that you as educators need to have on each technical topic to be able to do the work we are going to ask you to do in the breakout rooms, okay? So the idea is that you are not going to be out of this webinar, you are not going to be an expert on emergency preparedness, you are not going to be an expert on healthy diets, you are not going to be an expert on climate, okay? But you are going to receive a small input from the experts for you to understand what do we have behind those topics, and then I will explain how are we going to work in the room. Okay, so I think that we have to start now with the first topic, which is emergency preparedness, special focus on animal health. And the one who is going to talk to you about this is an old friend of you, because you have seen him already in action. Daniel, over to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Anna. Can you see my screen? Okay, I will try to be brief again, and I will be visiting the breakout room so we can discuss in more depth the specific topics. So as Sylvie mentioned before, emergency preparedness is one of the solutions to deal with emergency and to make the countries better prepared and more resilient. And preparedness, when we are talking about preparedness, we are talking about foreseeing the needs for the management of operations during an emergency itself. And of course, this is more complex than it sounds like. And just like when I was talking about the agri-food systems and the emergency management, we are also talking about different activities and different actors that needs to be engaged in the process. So I bring to you one of the FAO solutions and tools that we have to support countries to be better prepared to manage emergencies, and now with the focus more on animal health, since this is the scope of the team that I worked with. And the tool that I am introducing is the Good Emergency Management Practice that we call GAMP. So from now on, I will be referring to the acronym to save myself some time. But the GAMP is a publication from FAO. The cover that I am displaying on the screen is the third edition of it. I will ask Davide to please share the links in the chat of both the publication and the online course. And this publication, I think, introduces in a very holistic way the different phases and actions to be taken during emergency. Because even if we are talking about getting prepared for the emergency, we need to be prepared for all the actions that we need to implement in case an emergency happens. So in this publication, we try to see the emergency and we try to divide it in a didactic way. We try to divide it in 4 different phases. So we call those phases the peacetime, when there is no emergency happening yet. And that's exactly the perfect moment for the countries to get better prepared to deal with them in case they occur. But we also talk about the alert phase, in which we might suspect that an emergency is about to come. The emergency phase itself, when you confirm that something is happening and actions need to be taken to control and to solve this issue. And then we talk about the reconstruction, when the emergency is over and now we need to bring the, as we mentioned before, the agri-food system and the producers back to their full capacity, or maybe even better if possible. So we divide the emergency into those 4 different phases. And during workshops and trainings with countries, we try to introduce the 5 types of actions that need to be taken in those 4 phases. So we have actions related specifically to preparedness itself, in which the workshop is part of this preparedness. But we also focus a lot in actions to be taken to prevent an emergency to occur or to disseminate, right? We need to think on preventive measures. We need to think on the capacity of the countries to detect those emergencies in case they happen. And in the case of animal health, here we are talking a lot about laboratory capacities, but thinking on the settings of, let's say, primary schools, we can also use the capacity of educating kids or rural producers to quickly detect a potential emergency and contact the authorities to inform it. So we don't need to go to the laboratory level. The detection can occur counting also with the community to support those actions. And we also need to think on actions to respond, and as I mentioned before, to recover the production and the capacity of those farmers to try to recover and to improve their livelihoods again, because this is often highly impacted when emergencies happen. And here in the bottom, I try to highlight some of the elements of preparedness that we always try to consider in those trainings. And I think it's always important when we talk about trainings and capacity development activities in general, because since this is a global approach, right, that this training and publication focus on a global level, of course, when we go to countries and we implement workshops, we try to consider their risk assessments and their prioritizations. So we tailor the training to be part of their own realities and to touch on topics that are really relevant for those participants. We also mention a lot the importance of governance and understanding who is involved, who are the actors that should be engaged in those actions. And we try to engage them during those workshops. We try to bring different stakeholders to be part of those workshops so we can enhance the coordination among those actors in case an emergency happens. We also talk a lot about the importance of training, not only the workshop, but also the training of specific capacities that they might need that are out of the scope of the workshop that we implement. And we try to help them to map the resources that they also have. And another important element of preparedness that we always try to emphasize and we try to encompass in our agenda whenever possible is the idea of exercising and continuous improvement. So very often as part of our agendas, we try to implement simulation exercises to test plans that the countries might have and to give them the idea that following that workshop, they have some review activities to be sure that they will continue to improve their level of preparedness. And in case an emergency occurs, and we always hope they will not, but unfortunately we need to get ready for the worst, we hope that we are supporting the countries, the veterinary services in that case, to be better prepared to deal with it. But as I mentioned, we are talking here about veterinary services and the country authorities, but those trainings, they can be focusing in much smaller scale and thinking and engaging with the communities, the rural producers, the kids, and in each setting that you're working with, we can try to bring those components. Thanks, and sorry I overlap. I passed a bit on the time, but that was basically it. Thank you, Anna.
No, Daniel, perfect timing, perfect timing. Don't say sorry. It was very interesting. And for you to remember, dear participants today, that later on when we explain the room 1 and 2 will deal with this topic in English, and room 3 will deal with this topic in French. Okay? So remember this. Now, let's move to topic number 2. Which is a climate action in fragile context. And for this, we have Sylvie and Phil, who are going to take us through. So over to you.
Thank you, Anna. I think it is Phil who will do the speaking, because all the solutions which are presented are really very much driven and specific to climate change that are driving 80% of the major disasters today. Not talking about the conflict. And I think the Philip is going to take us to the conflict sensitive approach, which do apply to all type of intervention and solutions. So Philip, over to you.
Many thanks. Actually, my browser is preventing me from sharing my presentation. Davide, is there any chance that you could share presentation? Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. Many thanks. Thank you. Perfect. Many thanks. There's only 5 minutes, so this is a very broad subject. So I'm just going to touch on some key issues here. Noting that I primarily work in conflict-affected areas, but we're broadening the scope of this slide to also to primarily talk about fragility, which is arguably perhaps more inclusive and representative of many of the countries that you are joining from. First of all, what is fragility? And I'm going to use the OECD's definition. Fragility is the combination of exposure to risk and the insufficient resilience of a state, system, and or community to manage, absorb, or mitigate those risks. And in certain contexts in particular, then we have a situation of sequential or compound risks, which make it increasingly difficult, or in some cases, some people would say impossible to exit what is called a fragility trap, where sequential risks or these compounded risks weaken those systems and those institutions to the degree that attempting to leave a fragile state is undermined by the fact that those institutions or those capacities are too weak to do so. But for what we will end up talking about now is actually perhaps more focus on the idea of conflict, which one could identify as being at the extreme end or a particular end of the spectrum of fragility. And conflict and insecurity can affect adversely affect agriculture and food systems through a number of reasons, and these causes are by no means exhaustive. First of all, a fracturing of intra and inter-community relations, the reduced access to inputs, fields, markets, and services, and this can either be through, for example, cost or the physical difficulties or indeed risks of accessing markets or fields in times of in situations of insecurity or conflict, as well as the erosion of norms or patterns or practices related to the durable and natural resource management. And when I'm talking about natural resources here, we're not talking about the extractive sector, perhaps more around water, land, pasture, forestry resources. Furthermore, conflict and insecurity can also undermine the provision of services, state capacity and legitimacy, as well as targeting the means of production and processing and accessing food. So insecurity and conflict can have quite significant adverse effect. And we also do note that conflict and insecurity is the leading driver of acute food insecurity globally. And so at FAO, we very much try to adopt a conflict sensitive or do no harm approach in contexts of insecurity and in some contexts of fragility. And why do we do this, or what are the actual risks of not being conflict sensitive or not adopting a do no harm approach? These are primarily related to the fragility of relations or institutions, and the fact that intervening in such contexts can actually do more harm than would otherwise certain communities or households or individuals would be exposed to, through, for example, how we look at targeting, the types of assistance which we could provide, the extent to which we engage or not with communities and better attempt to understand their needs, as well as attempting to establish institutions or practices which may duplicate or in some instances substitute existing mechanisms, indigenous or otherwise, which are already existent. And so there are various risks that we can increase through our own interventions that we need to be highly cognizant of. And certain considerations which we do need to take into account when designing or formulating interventions in fragile contexts is, at a minimum, we need to do no harm. And again, do no harm is attempting to understand the risks which could be superimposed in the communities we're attempting to support by our own intervention or get community engagement. So it's supplemental risks than those communities which are already exposed to. Also, our understanding of resilience. We should not presuppose that we know how communities or areas are resilient. We need to better understand how communities are resilient, because resilience is context specific. Understanding what makes households and communities resilient is fundamental when formulating interventions. Thirdly, when it comes to community engagement, it's imperative that we seek to understand what are the needs of the communities where we're attempting to intervene, solicit feedback through the project cycle, not only at the beginning of an intervention. We've got to be very cautious that when we talk about community consultations, this isn't informing communities what we're doing, but very much soliciting their opinions, their feedback, their experience into and using this in the design and formulation of interventions. And also, as noted as well, that the communities take a leadership role during these interventions, not only monitoring, but feedback. And so we're able to understand changes in the context. And the next point very much relates to flexibility and adaptability, because in fragile and conflict affected contexts, the situation can change very frequently, either through human-induced or natural disasters. And being able to adapt for an intervention to be flexible over the course of an intervention is fundamental, being able to adapt to the needs of the community, the households that we are attempting to support. And finally, we do see, over the last 15, 20 years, the humanitarian sector has intervened almost from an emergency point of view. And then over time, what are ostensibly emergency interventions have been repeated time and time again in what we call protracted crises. So in place of short-term emergency interventions, we need to better understand what are some of the root causes of these particular crises, and attempting to identify opportunities to tackle more systemic problems. And that's why, and I believe you've talked about this in previous sessions, or it's at least a concept that we will be exploring in the future, is the fact that emergency interventions or humanitarian interventions should also be looking to tackle or at least address some of the root causes of these protracted crises. And that's why in this particular sector, a more holistic approach through a humanitarian development and peace nexus type intervention is necessary to move from emergency to more a solutions-based approach through HDP. I appreciate this is by no means an exhaustive look at a fragile context and how agriculture interventions should be formulated and implemented in such contexts, but it's just intended to provide a brief overview.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Now, of course, behind the 3 topics, we could organize 1, not 10 webinars behind each topic, but it's true that we needed you, who are the ones who knows the topic, to give us this brief introduction. No, I see in the chat that there are a lot of questions on how can we take this to the education? How can we take this to the curriculum? This is precisely what we are going to do later on in the breakout rooms. Okay, so after Ricardo, which is the last expert that still has to introduce us the healthy diets from resilient and inclusive food systems, I want just to let you know, that precisely the goal of the rooms is for you educators to the house to decide and to discuss what do we do with these kind of topics? How do we take this to our own realities? Okay. So, Ricardo, are you ready to go?
Yes, thank you so much, Anna. And Andrea, would it be possible to share my presentation as well?
Yes, just a second.
Thank you. So in the meantime, I'll introduce myself. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to join this teaching lab. My name is Riccardo D'Angeli, and I've been working in the food and nutrition division of FAO for the past 5 years. In my role, I support countries facing crisis to design and implement nutrition-sensitive agriculture and resilience programs, particularly those that empower women, youth, and vulnerable communities. So today I will be sharing 3 key messages and a short portfolio of FAO solutions on healthy diets in humanitarian context that you should be able to see by now, since I'm seeing them. Thank you so much, Davide. In this context, when crisis hit individuals and families, they don't just lose food, they also lose the means to produce it. So providing food aid, emergency rations is essential, but it must be complemented by support to keep local food production going. When FAO supplies short-cycle seeds, small livestock, or fishing kits, families can eat more diverse diets within weeks. This not only improves nutrition, but reduces dependence on aid. So my first message here is protecting livelihoods is also protecting lives. On another note, as we all know, women are often the backbone of food systems. They grow vegetables, they manage poultry, they cook, and ensure children are fed. But they are also the most affected in crisis, often eating less or least. Youth, on the other hand, bring energy and innovation, from adopting climate-smart practices to building small agribusinesses. They can be drivers of positive change. And that's why FAO works through women's group and youth networks. For example, in Nigeria, in the city of Maiduguri, a conflict-affected area, women's cooperatives produce a fortified complementary food that reduces child malnutrition. And for those of you who don't know, a fortified complementary food is a specially prepared local food for young children, boosted with extra nutrients to prevent malnutrition during the critical 6 to 23 months period. In another ongoing project, we are coordinating in Madagascar farmer field schools focused on women and youth farmers to combine production with nutrition education, helping them strengthen livelihoods, diets, and resilience. These examples are deeply connected with my second key message. Empowering women and youth builds inclusive food systems that sustain healthy diets. Finally, nutrition challenges in crisis cannot be solved by one sector alone, and that's why FAO promotes a systemic approach, bringing together agriculture, health, education, social protection, and local governance. FAO works with diverse partners, from governments and UN agencies to civil society, women's groups, and youth networks, to embed nutrition into humanitarian and resilience responses at multiple levels. This multi-sectoral, multi-level, and multi-stakeholder collaboration ensures that short-term relief is linked with long-term resilience. So families not only survive crisis, but recover with healthier diets and stronger livelihoods. So this third message, and this is very much linked with what Phil was talking about before, nutrition in humanitarian context requires a systemic approach that unites partners and sectors for lasting impact. FAO also supports a package of practical food system solutions that both prevent malnutrition and strengthen resilience in crisis. I have included a list of those on the left. You can see that there is nutrition-sensitive agriculture, small livestock and aquaculture, cash plus safety nets. These programs combine cash transfer with inputs such as seeds, tools, or clean energy stoves, so households can meet urgent food needs while investing in food productions. Then we have school food and nutrition and food and nutrition education. So across all of these, women and youth are not only beneficiaries, but leaders and innovators, ensuring solutions are inclusive, sustainable, and adapted to community needs. To conclude, we have saving livelihoods saves lives. Women and youth are central drivers of resilient food systems, and healthy diets in crisis require a systemic approach. And for educators, this means food and farming are not just survival strategies, they're also powerful entry points to teach resilience, inclusion, sustainability in the face of crisis. That's all from my side, and I look forward to the breakout discussions to explore how these approaches can enrich your teaching. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. Also very interesting. So, dear educators, this is what we wanted to have, okay? A small brief introduction, knowing that this is not a lot and there are many other things to talk about those topics, but now is the time for you to work on all these topics, okay? And how are we going to do this? I think you all have received today a reminder of this webinar with the explanation of the 9 breakout rooms that we are going to have, okay? We are going to have 9. 3 breakout rooms will be devoted to the same topic, emergency preparedness, 1, 2, and 3. 3 rooms will be devoted to climate action in fragile contexts, rooms 4, 5, and 6. And 3 rooms will be devoted to healthy diets, the last topic presented by Ricardo. So rooms 7, 8, and 9. As you can see, we have already pre-assigned for each room the setting and the language and the audiences, okay? So for instance, if I am a university professor super interested in how to take climate action in fragile context into my classroom, into my activities as educator, I am going to choose, logically, room number 4, because it's formal education and the topic I want, okay? Inside each room, you are going to have one facilitator who is going to help you with ideas on methodology, because all the facilitators in the rooms are experts in capacity development, in training. So they are not experts on the topic itself. They are experts in capacity development. How are we going to solve the fact that the facilitators are not experts in the topic? Okay. Ricardo, for instance, who is the owner of the last topic, healthy diets, Ricardo is going to be visiting rooms 7, 8, and 9 to see if you have questions for him on the topic, okay, on the knowledge that might help you in your discussions to respond to the question, how do we take this topic if audience 1, I am working with public health university students, or group 8, non-formal education, if I am working with community caregivers and parents. And the same for Daniel. Daniel is going to be visiting room 1, 2, and 3, and Phil and Sylvie are going to be visiting room 4, 5, and 6. So at the end, you are going to have both assistances, the technical knowledge and the capacity development expertise, okay? And we have prepared, we are going to ask that each group, you name one volunteer who is going to be the note taker. And the note taker is going to receive this template that Davide is going to show us now on the screen. Because we want to help you guiding the discussion, because the discussion in the breakout rooms is not for one participant to take the floor and explain a whole experience, because then the other participants are not going to have the time to intervene. So the idea is that it's more like a brainstorming. You share ideas, you share resources, and the note taker can use the template to capture all those ideas, okay? If one participant has a very good experience with very good materials, this is not the moment to present this. This is not the moment to explain this thoroughly. We will use the second line, which is to identify organization, champions, materials that already exist and that can be useful for others to know. Okay? So this template is the one who is going to guide the discussion. And what we have asked to the facilitators is to complete audience 1. So you respond to all the questions for audience 1. If you still have time available, you move to audience 2. Because at the end, we are going to have a package of solutions that we will transform in a sort of a small handbook with your own ideas to share with everybody, okay? This is why when we finish the group work, we are not going to have a plenary to present, because the presentation will come later in the format of a document, okay? So I am going to open now the rooms, okay? And you have to choose where do you want to go. The only ones who cannot choose are the facilitators, because we already pre-assigned them. But you educators, and I see we have 110 people online, you have to choose where to go, okay? So rooms are going to be open now, and we will close the rooms at 1:55. From now to 1:55. Enjoy. See you later. So now you are supposed to see the rooms and choose where to go, okay? And Davide is going to stay in the main room to help people. For instance, if you want, Roberto Mugume, guys, don't put in the chat where to go. You open the breakout rooms in your Zoom and you choose, because you are 110. And it's going to be impossible for Davide to send you to the room. So please, facilitators, you can already join your group.
Hi, Anna.
Yes?
I don't seem to be getting an option for a breakout room at all. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I do see a lot of people are still here.
Well, if you open, I can see, and
All
I
of
see
us,
people.
we don't know how to join the rooms.
I see people is joining the rooms. I think that if you open the breakout rooms, I have the breakout rooms in the bottom of my Zoom. If I open there, I can see and I can go to wherever I go.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
I cannot see it too, please.
Yeah.
You can't see it, please.
I can see it, please.
Some people is already there, so there are people that can see the.
But we are not seeing, so put us in the rooms.
Just allocate us in the rooms based on our links.
Okay. Perry, you have to go to. Perry is gone, for instance.
No, I'm here. The option is not available to me for some reason.
Okay, which is the name of your room?
I'm number 8.
Okay. Andrea, which is the name of your room?
Number 4. Okay,
gone. Okay, Martin, room 1.
And I
Davide.
have the same problem. Lucia in room number 5, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Something I want number 1, room 1.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now it is visible. Now it is visible to every
Yeah.
participant, I think.
I've changed one of the settings, so all participants now are able to select their own breakout rooms. I've assigned some people in the breakout room for the one that I've been able to read in the chat. So please now check again because you can select your own breakout room. I can bring us again on screen the slide with the different breakout rooms number and topics.
Okay, people, are you able to choose your room now?
Yes, we can see it.
Davide?
Yes, Anna.
Remember, if you see that is super imbalanced, you visit the groups, okay?
Yes, yes.
And some room 1, I am helping you assigning people, okay?
Yeah.
Ismail 7. For instance, room 4 is being very popular, already 22 people. So maybe don't assign more people to room 4 and ask people to go to somewhere else. Adik, room 5.
Anna, I see some people in room number 3, so it's good maybe if you start going and then
Yeah, I will go there. Okay.
Yes, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Okay. Yes.
There is only one person in room 3.
Yeah, someone left. So many. Okay. Are you people, educators, and colleagues able to join all the rooms? I see that some people in the chat are still asking for us to add you to the right room. Unfortunately, it's impossible to assign everyone manually. Hi, Polly. In which breakout room would you like to go? I can assign you. Hi, Polly.
You guys any group breakout production? I'd like to be there. So
Okay.
I am on trying to cannot make so much contribution, but I will want to listen to people. I'm on trying to I think I'm 7 a.m.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do not have a specific focus on food production. Would something related to healthy diets be okay for you?
Yeah, it will be okay. Thank you.
Okay. Do you teach more into formal or non-formal setting? Do you teach, are you an educator or are you more interested into the topic of formal or non-formal setting?
I am an educator.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm assigning you to one breakout room. I've seen.
Hey, Davide. So yeah, there's nobody in the French one for the healthy diets. I think I'll just move around and maybe go to see where Kate is. And if anybody wants to discuss the French healthy diets, just let me know.
Yeah, and yeah, okay, of
Yeah.
course. Feel free to text me if you need anything. Thanks a lot.
Grant, you too.
Hi, Urban. Can you hear me? Hi, Fuad.
Hi, how are you? I think everyone joined the breakout rooms, right?
Yes, I can assign you to one breakout room if you want.
Okay, it is no problem.
Yes, which topic is of your interest? Emergency preparedness for animal health, something related to climate action, or healthy diets?
A minute, because I have the kids crying right now. Okay. I wanted to choose about climate change, inshallah.
Okay, would you like to attend the one in French by any chance, or are
English,
you
English.
English? Okay.
Yep.
Do you want to speak in English about formal or non-formal education settings?
Okay, can I say about formal?
Yes, of course. I'm assigning you to room number 4. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Mr. David. No one here can hear me?
Hi, Davide.
Hi, how are you, Anna? How are you? I hope you're fine.
Hi.
Mr. David, wanna add me in a breakout room number 4, I think, because they are talking about climate and
You want to
also
go
in
to
English
5?
language.
You want to go to 4? Okay. Michael or Jumoke, do you want to join any group? So Davide, I was only with one participant in group number 3. So
Yeah,
I sent I sent him to another Francophone group. Okay, and Oisin, I think he was also alone.
Yeah. Look, can
no,
you
now there is one participant.
Can you help me making please Lucia Buono and Karen as co-hosts?
Yeah, because they cannot record the breakout room.
Yes. How do I do that from here?
I don't know. Let me maybe go into participants.
Yeah, I don't find anyone now because everyone is in breakout.
Because everyone is in the. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I can visit that room and record myself, or I have to stay to record everything.
No, you have to stay. Can you go and check if you see the participants list from that room?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, so maybe if you go there in the room and you see the list of participants, you're able to change.
It's true.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, Ernest and Cedric. Hi, Dennis and Ernest and Suleyan and Urban. Would you like to join one breakout room? I can assign you to the room. Hello, Dr. Priya. Hello, Godfrey, Dr. Pia, Dennis, Urban, Ernest, Suleiman. Would you like to join a breakout room? I can assign you to one if you want.
It's very strange. It's very strange. I cannot move myself. I am host.
Yeah, you are co-host, so probably it's different.
No, but it's very strange that I cannot move because usually the host can go in and out. No.
Hello. Do you need me in 3?
No, because 3 is empty now. Because there was only one participant and I convinced him to go to room number 6. So if not, it was going to be he and me talking.
Yeah.
Are you also alone on room number 9?
Yeah, there was nobody in 9, so I moved to 7.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mackenzie, Dennis, Dr. Priya, Anigor, Austin. Would you like to join a breakout room right now? There are 9 minutes left before the end of the breakout room session. It's I don't know if you're joining right now. I haven't had the chance to review the participants list, but there is an ongoing conversation on how to integrate certain topics related to Agrifood system transformation emergency settings into your educational curricula. If you would like to take part of that conversation now, I can assign you to one thematic breakout room if you like. Hi, Gloria, Mackenzie, Dr. Priya.
Davide, I go to Lucia's room because she cannot record and the document is not working, okay? So I do that and in 2 minutes, bring me back, please.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Anna.
I'll jump back into Kate's room as well, Davide.
Okay, Oisin, all good. 7 minutes to go.
Good.
See you soon. Hi, Tars.
Maybe as well, you can broadcast a message to everybody. Let them know time on 5 minutes, but maybe you're planning on doing that.
Couldn't you see the one before? I already sent one.
Oh, maybe I missed it. Anyway, okay, grand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grand.
Hello, everyone. Mackenzie, Anigor, Gloria, Sonwa, Dr. Priya, Tars. Would you like to be assigned to a breakout room?
Hi, David.
Hi, Gloria.
Please say that again. Sorry, I was still setting up.
No worries.
Sorry, I joined late.
It's all right.
I just came across it on the Instagram page and I was like, let me register if it's still going on.
Yeah, it is. That's great. Unfortunately, we're closing this overall meeting in 12 minutes, and there's an ongoing conversation in a breakout room that is going on related to Agrifood system transformation in emergency settings. Yeah. If you would like to join, I can still assign you to one breakout room.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me check what's breakout room is the emptier to guarantee your participation. Do you speak
Please,
French?
coordinator, I would like to also to be assigned to a group. I'm just joining in.
Yes, of course, Anigor. I can assign you as well.
Thank you.
Do you speak French, Anigor or Gloria?
I speak only English.
Okay. All right.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Charles from Congo. I can speak French, so.
Okay, Tars, I can assign you to room number 6 on Action Climatique. Anigor.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Eric. Would you like to join a breakout room as well?
Hello.
Hello.
Je suis Eric Amabou. I'm speaking in French. Je suis Eric Amabou depuis la République démocratique du Congo. Et je représente l'organisation communautaire dynamique et voix de paix, Ways of Peace Dynamique. Et nous travaillons sur un programme dénommé Eco Green Restoration, restauration écologique verte, et avec lequel nous essayons d'aborder les communautés autochtones, mais aussi sensibiliser les populations riveraines et du parc national de Virunga et de protéger les parcs et comprendre les conflits liés entre les communautés, mais aussi les gestionnaires du parc national de Virunga, qui est l'Institut national de conservation de la nature, ICCN. Merci.
Merci Eric pour votre présentation. Il était très intéressant de voir comment vous avez partagé des choses avec le travail que vous faites. Si vous voulez, vous pouvez m'en donner une présentation le plus détaillée sur votre travail dans ma email. Je écris en ce moment dans votre chat mon email adresse. Si vous voulez, vous pouvez partager plus d'informations. D'accord?
D'accord.
Merci.
Davide,
Anna.
I don't know where the time went, really, because we were not having delays. So I don't know why we passed from 40 minutes group work to 25 only, because we were not that late, I mean.
Yeah,
So
I know.
what do we do now? Because we have to close at 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can close it 2 minutes. So I would start calling everyone in 3 minutes, maybe.
I will broadcast a message for the room. Do you know how to do that? Do you want to do it?
Broadcast.
If you open the breakout rooms,
Yeah.
below you have plan next session broadcast.
Yeah.
If you click on broadcast and you say broadcast message, you can contact all the rooms.
Oh, because I've been sending emails in the chat, but
no. So if you say now broadcast message to all rooms, you can say, sorry, dear educators, we have to close the room in 5 minutes.
Okay, so now
and then disappears on the screen.
Okay, we are closing the breakout rooms at, let's say, 13:57.
Well, say 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, I think it's easier to control the time if you say 5 minutes than if you give me a time.
Yeah.
I can see it. Okay. So this is the way when you are overall facilitator, this is the way, unless you have a WhatsApp group with the facilitators or something, this is a way to send messages to everybody, no?
Yeah. Okay, so we call everyone in at 1:57, and then you say something, and then you hand it over to Sheen.
Yeah. Well, it's a pity. I was trying because I have been monitoring the time and we were not having delays. Only, I mean, Sylvia spoke 2 minutes more than expected, but the welcome intro was 9 minutes. Danielle was 6 minutes. So here we had 1 minute delay. Then Sylvie went over. Yes, Sylvia spoke for 12 minutes, so already 3 minutes delay. But then I cannot. 60, 70, 75. No. I don't see where we have had this delay.
Probably your presentation on the breakout rooms was a bit longer than expected, or was it planned to happen for 5 minutes?
No, I had planned like 5 minutes and then 35 minutes group. Because it's 5 minutes the time I speak, and it's true that we had a small chaos, no, with the rooms.
Yeah, I think there you lost other 3-4 minutes,
3 to 4.
and you
So
sum
maybe
everything,
that's
and it's a minus 15.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. We're here in this session. Unfortunately, we are closing the breakout rooms in 2 minutes. So we will bring everyone back to the plenary room in 2 minutes. Yes, in 1 minute, actually. So we can close the session. Thank you.
So then when you click on close all room, they will receive they will receive a 60-second notice. Okay, so in 60 seconds everybody will come back.
Sorry, I was muted. At 27, I close, and then they have 1 extra minute. Is that correct? Okay, let's do that then. Okay, now close all rooms.
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you can offer them in the plenary now when you close to have like maybe in the community of practice a kind of working group dealing with the different topics to they complete this analysis.
Welcome everyone in. Let's wait for the last seconds that everyone are able to come back to the main room.
Hello again. Sorry, David. I was in the French room, which is about action climatique, but has been disconnected. If it's possible to.
Non, c'est pas une déconnexion, c'est qu'on a fermé les groupes pour revenir en plénière.
Okay.
Désolé.
Ok, merci.
Okay, I see that. Everyone is almost back into the main room, into the plenary room. I appreciate everyone's effort to work in these groups. Unfortunately, the dedicated time is never enough to work, especially on this complex intersectional topic and on these detailed tasks that we gave you. But I appreciate everyone's time for that. For some closing consideration, I'm now handing over to Anna to then hand it over to Oishin to close the session. Over to you, Anna.
Yeah, thank you. Well, as we said, the idea with what you have been discussing is to create a battery of ideas for you to share. Okay, and this is consider this as a first attempt to work on this. Okay, because we know the time has been very limited. But I hope that with the facilitators and the experts, you have been able to share ideas. And then I was saying, Davide, that maybe in the future you can have a sort of task force of volunteers to work on each concrete specific topic and audience to develop further the proposal. No, so this can be a way to go for the educators network. So thank you very much. I think, Oisin, you have few messages to close the session and also an evaluation form or something. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon in another World Food Forum Global Youth Action event. Ciao, and thank you.
Thanks a lot, Anna. Thanks, Davide. And I'll be very brief because I know we're at the time limit now. But yeah, so from my perspective, this was a really great session. The first attempt, as Anna mentioned, for us to sort of co-develop these ideas and these resources around specific topics that FAO are working on. So much appreciated all of the different efforts and the inputs. I was in one of the breakout rooms on healthy and resilient diets, and there was lots of different ideas coming in there. So I'm sure it was the same across all other breakout rooms. We will be collecting these ideas and be able to share them with you all afterwards, and hopefully then getting to check back in later in the year on how this went and what are some of the ideas that came out of it. Was anything implemented that you saw? Has anything changed in any of your educational programs or activities? So thanks a lot really for your time in all of that. And yeah, for the different to stay connected to the network, do please join. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll share some contact information with everybody registered here today. But you can join through the QR code here on screen. We really do want to incorporate as many voices and many educators from all around the world as well. And there are many different opportunities to engage on this global level, but then also in local, regional levels. And that will be coming sort of towards the end of this year to sort of tease a little bit. We do want to localize the educators network to discuss specific issues related to specific regions. And that will be something that you can follow along for towards the end of this year. But for now, just to say thank you again to all of our facilitators, our experts, fantastic moderation as well by Anna, and then our experts Sylvie, Phil, Daniel, Ricardo, much appreciated to all our facilitators as well in the breakout rooms. Really thanks a lot for your time. It really helps to make these sessions what they are. So thanks again. And we hope to see you all soon at the next Educator Network session. So have a good rest of your day wherever you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye,
you so much,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you,
Have a
thank
good
you,
day.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good
Thank
day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Arrivederci.
Bye.
Lucia, did you find the notes in the chat where I tagged you?
Okay, I'm closing this meeting for everyone right now. So thanks a lot. Let's reconvene into other channels. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.